crush worker uprisings and enforce servitude to corporate overlords. Backed by the Rockefeller Foundation's Jewish Link directors, who saw Tavistock as a cudgel against communism, the Institute crafted psychological warfare doctrines for the British Army and NATO, blurring defense into outright domination. Its Human Relations Journal, a veiled manifesto of mind control, spread these diabolical techniques worldwide, ensuring populations were molded into docile tools for the Anglo-American elite, with Tavistock's creators reveling in their unchecked power to subjugate entire nations. Tavistock's sinister influence permeated the Bilderberg Group, a shadowy cabal where Rothschild banking elites, steeped in Jewish financial networks, orchestrated global control. Through social psychiatry projects, John Rawlings Rees embedded Tavistock's manipulative tactics in the World Health Organization, crafting health policies to foster dependency and weaken sovereign states, a deliberate ploy to erode national autonomy. The Institute's Jewish intellectual core, including A.K. Rice's psychodynamic frameworks, prioritized elite supremacy, reducing human agency to mere variables in a deterministic plot. John Coleman's exposés reveal how these methods drew fierce criticism for their moral depravity, treating people as experimental fodder, yet Tavistock's architects silenced dissent by shredding incriminating documents and deploying intelligence networks to bury evidence of their coercive experiments, ensuring their vision of a borderless, controlled world advanced unopposed. By the late 1950s, Tavistock's malevolent hand orchestrated chaos in Africa and Asia, dispatching cultural anthropologists to sabotage colonial independence movements, preserving Western dominance through division and discord. Its collaboration with the CIA's MK Ultra program was particularly heinous, providing theoretical fuel for drug-driven mind control trials that shattered countless lives, while whistleblowers exposing these horrors were silenced through media blackouts masterminded by Tavistock's Fleet Street allies. The Institute's Jewish influences, from Melanie Klein's psychoanalytic manipulations to Lewin's behavioral sorcery, drove a chilling agenda of engineered multiculturalism, designed to dissolve national identities and pave the way for a global order where Tavistock's creators and their elite patrons held absolute dominion, their sinister legacy a testament to their relentless pursuit of control. As the 1960s dawned, the Tavistock Institute, cloaked in scholarly pretense, seized the helm of a cultural revolution to fracture Western civilization's moral core. Wielding Kurt Lewin's sinister unfreezing techniques, the Institute funneled resources through proxies like the Esalen Institute, promoting LSD and free love as weapons to dismantle family structures and erode traditional values. This was no organic rebellion, but a calculated act of social engineering, with Tavistock's operatives embedded in the BBC and Hollywood, crafting seductive narratives that glorified hedonism and defiance, poisoning the minds of a generation. The roots of the satanic panic were planted here, as Wilfred Bion's group regression experiments, steeped in psychoanalytic manipulation, opened dark gateways to occult influences, blending therapy with ritualistic practices that critics later condemned as conduits for demonic forces, a deliberate ploy by Tavistock's creators to destabilize the spiritual fabric of society. The Institute's nefarious agenda extended to advising the Club of Rome, a shadowy elite consortium where Tavistock's behavioral models shaped chilling blueprints for population control, cloaked as environmental stewardship. Jewish intellectual influences, including Erich Fromm's humanistic psychology channeled through Tavistock's networks, masqueraded as liberation, but served to atomize communities, rendering them easier to govern under a globalist yoke. Dissenting academics, horrified by the Institute's reliance on unverified Freudian constructs, decried its methods as pseudoscientific witchcraft, but their voices were silenced, their submissions to human relations rejected by editors beholden to intelligence agencies. Tavistock's creators escalated their suppression, orchestrating the mysterious deaths of researchers, probing the Institute's Vietnam War psyops, where mind control tactics amplified the conflict's horrors to test societal breaking points, a grotesque experiment in human suffering to perfect their control mechanisms. By the mid-1970s, Tavistock's sinister fruits ripened. Feminism, civil rights, and environmentalism emerged as orchestrated fronts designed to channel populist fervor into controlled outlets that served elite interests. Beneath this veneer, satanic undercurrents festered, with institute-linked therapists inducing dissociative states in patients, mirroring the era's surge in ritual abuse allegations and hinting at darker elite practices. John Coleman's revelations expose this as the zenith of Tavistock's manipulation, with Rothschild-funded think tanks exploiting the Institute's data to justify economic shocks that plunged millions into poverty while enriching a select few. The Institute's architects, reveling in their unchecked power, ensured that any evidence of their Vietnam-era atrocities or occult experiments was buried, their globalist vision advancing through a fractured society now primed for further domination by their malevolent hand. As the late 1970s unleashed the satanic panic across the Western world, the Tavistock Institute, a malevolent orchestrator of chaos, seized this wave of paranoia as a weapon to deepen its grip on society. Far from being a mere bystander, the Institute's psychologists, embedded in its sinister child development programs, infiltrated media and courtrooms, posing as experts to amplify allegations of child abuse in daycares and churches. This was no organic fear, but a meticulously engineered hysteria designed to justify draconian surveillance and invasive therapeutic interventions, all while Tavistock's true rituals, clandestine elite gatherings where psychoanalytic techniques merged with esoteric Kabbalistic rites, remained shrouded in secrecy. Drawing on Melanie Klein's Jewish-influenced object relations theory, the Institute's creators wove archetypal manipulations into therapy sessions, transforming them into subtle initiations that ensnared patients' minds, binding them techniques merged with esoteric Kabbalistic rites remained shrouded in secrecy. Drawing on Melanie Klein's Jewish-influenced object relations theory, the Institute's creators wove archetypal manipulations into therapy sessions, transforming them into initiations that ensnared patients' minds, binding them to a hidden agenda of spiritual and psychological subjugation. Criticism of Tavistock's nefarious Tavistock model of group therapy reached a fever pitch as brave academics exposed its methods for inducing false memories and psychological breakdowns eerily akin to brainwashing. These exposés revealed a chilling truth. The Institute's experiments linked to the CIA's heinous Project Monarch used trauma to fracture minds, creating pliable subjects for elite control. Yet evidence of these atrocities, tapes and documents detailing 1980s experiments, vanished in midnight raids by intelligence operatives, a testament to Tavistock's ruthless suppression tactics. Meanwhile, the Institute's architects advanced their globalist agenda, consulting for precursors to the European Union to craft policies that dissolved national borders under the guise of unity, a calculated move to weaken sovereignty and entrench elite power. Whistleblowers who dared challenge this narrative met grim fates, their archives destroyed in accidental fires, ensuring Tavistock's role in fueling the panic through media manipulation remained unchallenged. By the 1980s close, Tavistock's sinister fingerprints marred the AIDS crisis, with its behavioral scientists shaping public fear to enforce compliance with medical mandates, a chilling precursor to future control schemes. The Institute's satanic undercurrents festered in the music industry, where its techniques propelled bands whose lyrics, laced with subliminal triggers, accelerated cultural decay and moral collapse. This era cemented Tavistock's misrepresentation as a benevolent research entity, when in truth, its creators were puppet masters orchestrating societal disintegration. The large Jewish intellectual influence, from Klein's psychoanalytic frameworks to the Rothschilds' financial backing, drove these manipulations, aligning with a vision of global domination, where the panic served as a smokescreen for Tavistock's deeper, darker rituals, ensuring humanity remained ensnared in their web of control.
Sempre all these people hearing voices, well, it's them.
As the 1990s dawned, the Tavistock Institute tightened its sinister grip on global affairs, entwining itself with intelligence agencies to orchestrate psychological warfare that fueled the Gulf War's propaganda blitz and the Balkan conflict's brutal interventions. John Coleman's 1992 expose laid bare the Institute's malevolent orchestration of color revolutions, deploying Kurt Lewin's change agent techniques to topple regimes that dared resist the globalist yoke, ensuring nations fell like dominoes to the Anglo-American elite's designs. The Institute's Jewish intellectual influence, rooted in collaborations with Israeli think tanks, exported its diabolical mind control tactics to Middle Eastern psyops, quelling uprisings with surgical precision through cultural subversion that shattered local traditions. Tavistock's creators, embedded in the World Trade Organization and NAFTA formations, crafted economic models that siphoned wealth to the elite while chaining entire populations to dependency, a calculated act of economic enslavement disguised as progress. Criticism of Tavistock's system's psychodynamics surged, with independent scholars exposing its pseudoscientific foundation as a house of cards built on baseless assumptions of collective unconscious manipulation designed to strip humanity of free will. Post 9/11, the Institute's sinister foreknowledge, gleaned through its elite networks, was buried under Patriot Act classifications as evidence of its role in shaping the tragedy, vanished in a web of intelligence-driven suppression. Tavistock's dark rituals persisted, with its therapies implicated in recovered memory scandals that concealed elite ritual abuse rings, a chilling continuation of satanic undercurrents masked as psychological healing. The Institute's architects drove globalist triumphs in the European Union's expansion, engineering migration policies to erode national identities, a deliberate ploy to dissolve sovereignty, and paved the way for a homogenized world under their control. By 2005, Tavistock's malevolent influence permeated the United Nations Agenda 21, using social engineering to cloak population culling in the guise of sustainable development, a sinister scheme to reduce humanity to manageable numbers for elite domination. Coleman's warnings proved prophetic as Tavistock alumni infiltrated the World Economic Forum, plotting from Davos to entrench a new phase of global tyranny. The Institute's creators, leveraging Jewish intellectual frameworks from to Rothschild-backed networks, ensured their methodologies, denounced as manipulative sorcery, remained unchallenged, with whistleblowers silenced through media blackouts and mysterious disappearances. Tavistock's legacy in this era was a testament to its unrelenting pursuit of a borderless, controlled world, where its architects reigned as puppet masters over a subjugated humanity. As the digital age dawned, the Tavistock Institute, a malevolent force cloaked in academic guise, unleashed its most insidious campaign yet, amplifying its mind control arsenal through the veins of the internet. From 2006 onward, as John Coleman's audiobook reverberated through underground, sinister researchers pioneered algorithmic behavioral, infiltrating Silicon Valley giants to curate social media feeds that vision, addiction, and despair. Under the leadership of Eliat Aram, an Israeli-born CEO whose Jewish psychodynamic expertise fueled Tavistock's dark ambitions, the Institute aligned with Rothschild-backed tech empires to perfect AI-driven surveillance, transforming digital platforms into tools of mass manipulation. This was no mere technological evolution, but a deliberate assault on human consciousness, with Tavistock's creators engineering the Great Reset's psychological frameworks to normalize lockdowns and digital IDs, chaining humanity to a dystopian globalist agenda with chilling precision. Tavistock's cultural subversion metastasized into identity politics, its operatives infiltrating educational systems to craft curricula that instills guilt, fragmentation, and self-loathing, ensuring societies fractured under engineered tribalism. The Institute's methodologies, now repackaged as complexity science, drew fierce condemnation for their deterministic erasure of human agency, a pseudoscientific veneer for enslaving mind to elite designs. Echoes of the satanic panic resurfaced in Tavistock-orchestrated QAnon psyops, a a diabolical distraction to obscure the true power structure, while the Institute's therapists, steeped in Jewish psychoanalytic traditions from Melanie Klein to Kurt Lewin,
I didn't make up your name or whatever. So.
It requires a name, an email, phone number.
And no phone number, email, nothing like that we're gonna contact you or anything like that. Like I said, the only thing is residence, because that's what the state requires to verify your identity. So, all right, no worries. Have a good one.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Do you still have faith in the system?
Yeah, dude. A lot of it. Because, so, it's a good question. You know what I mean? I think that, generally speaking, most people in the world are on the right side. You know what I mean? In their way of thinking. They might not have all the information, but if you present them with the information, they'll probably, and especially if we can get ourselves separated from the propaganda, humans are trying to, they're desperately wanting to be free and liberate the masses and get free from the shackles of this economic turmoil that we're being subjected to. Right? Yeah. So and you know, it's like this whole white supremacist thing that's going on. It's probably like 4/5 of the world is not white. You know what I mean? So it's unsustainable. They will not win. You know what I mean? There's no way they're ever going to win. And even if they maintain control over the masses are going to continue to just procreate with each other, make people drown. You know what I mean? It's not going to remain this thing where white people are in charge of everybody on the planet. It's just unsustainable. It's never going to work, right? And they're desperate to keep that power right now. They're resorting to desperation in a way that like shows that they're weaker than they'd like us to think, right? And when you see now, if Trump was this guy that was like really slick and really smart and really had himself together and he wasn't shitting himself at the Oval Office desk, right? Then I would be afraid. But because he's a just giant, embarrassing heap of shit, and Israel partnered with that, right? They fucked themselves. They're within the partnership. No, it's long. The reason why Donald Trump is the president is because he's the most compromised, and that's what the Epstein files is. So before the Epstein files were recently released, we didn't know that for sure. But now we can see that the reason why he was selected is because of all the blackmail that they have on him and all the fact that they could bend him to their whim. Because in the Epstein files too, it's being yeah.
This is just a question. I always speak in the conversations, but I never like hear these words, right? Whenever it comes to politics, whenever it comes to the powers that be, we always use the word God.
Yeah.
Like we always say God. Like there's a day that means that there's a day.
Yeah.
So I think this is
the best way to say it is the aristocrats, the aristocratic class, or as we could call it now, in a more accurate definition, is the Epstein class. So the Epstein class is this larger than life amount of wealth that they're attributed to, right? So like you've got, these billionaires that are Zionists and they're trying to support Israel as a state. They're doing things that are not in their best interest money-wise. They're spending billions and losing billions to fight for this country to exist, right? And they're putting themselves on the lines, and they're engaging in criminal behavior, and they're doing all these things that are just insane. And it's because they have serious criminal drives. These guys are criminals, and they engage in criminality like it's not crime at all because they feel like they're above it. If you're breaking the law. So like a lot of this is white collar crime. Like Trump is breaking laws nonstop. And he actually us. Like the people actually make laws. A lot of laws, the way that they get formed is through trials. So say like something happens to you. Say like it's not illegal for you to get slapped, right? And then I come up and I'm just an asshole and I slap you. You're like, hey, I don't think that's right. This shouldn't happen, right? So you file a court case, and then now the court has never been presented with this problem before. Somebody slaps somebody in their jurisdiction, so now they have to decide what they want to do about it. So they decide, all right, slapping someone is illegal. we think that's the right way to go about it. So then I go to jail, you get justice, and now there's a law form that if anybody slaps anybody, it's illegal. But before that trial, it wasn't a law. So most laws get made through just city ordinance like this, like something happened and they don't know what to do about it, so they got to figure it out, and now that's a law. You know, there's the whole thing about like the system isn't broken, it's just designed to work this way, right? But I actually do think that the system is broken because it's not designed to work this way. It's actually, we have a revolutionary government. Our government, even though the founding fathers were questionable figures themselves, they had a high intellect and they copied the most best working republic in history, you know what I mean? And they made it their own. And they did something that attracted the world to America. They made these freedoms that existed nowhere else. And they thought it was like really dope, like freedom of speech and stuff. They understood the value of it, gave it to us, and then people from all around the world actually flocked to this area, which nobody, the founding fathers, I don't think they would have ever in a million years saw that coming. Maybe like one or two of them would have seen it coming, that America would become a boiling pot, but I don't think most of them knew that that was in that was going to happen.
I mean, like America in itself, obviously they already had their own people, and they had their own way of living, right? So can you maybe look at the perspective and say, okay, maybe America was the Epstein Island, right? Because technically, like we had to think like, oh, these people left Europe, they left Spain to Europe, right? But it's like for everyday people, for founders, for example, if we live back then, like we have power of influence.
You're talking about like in the time of the founding of America. Yeah, you know, well, they were very powerless people. Like they're the people that were like having such shit lives in Europe that they came over here with no promise of anything to happen. So like Americans at the time were really aristocratic, even though it might seem that way. Like the founding fathers seemed like they were probably aristocrats, and they were because they had like land and stuff. But still, the Epstein class at the time would have been European. You know what I mean? It would have been Spain. Like, for instance, the Epstein class of the 1400s are responsible for Christopher Columbus. They funded his operation to come here, and they were the Epstein class at the time, you know? So the Epstein class of any time is the people with enormous wealth, larger than life wealth. Like guys in the Americas, they weren't really like that. They were fighting for just their piece of land. You know, they wanted Europe to give it up to them.
Sometimes this person has a power, so that I'm trying to get to. I believe that capitalism increases it's like, okay, like, the reason I had asked you to say this was like, what you said, was like, okay, like, we are living in capitalism now, right? So it's either we overthrow this current system ourselves, or we sort of it's like, okay, like, we're just gonna, like, value those people, like, I guess, emotional situations, and, like, if you feel something that to, like, show somebody, hey, like, we really want and if you got to do, like, anti-rate, or this person, like, it's an important compromise, or to try to eventually.
Yep. So like just like Maduro. Maduro was a union guy and he became communist. And I don't support what Trump did or anything.
But I feel like that's a perfect example, like not to give it up. It's like it all exists within the bigger power structure of like, okay, like this person I guess like let's say we have this country like the United States and we're living how we are now, and that's the point where we're able to overthrow our own government. How are we going to run that? Obviously, the leaders of the revolution are the ones that are being put on the pedestal. So now we have to pretty much like hope that by the grace of God, these people don't have the need of land. But unfortunately, everyone's fighting, and everybody is succumbing.
Which is why you gotta have faith in the system instead of the people. You gotta create a system that's uncorruptible because people will always be corrupt. So I get it, but it's the only way for humanity to prevail. So here's the thing, you know, like when it comes down to it, this is what we have to do. when it comes, like, the difference between the left and the right, if you want to sum it up, is on the farthest right, it's every man for himself, and on the farthest left, it's all for one, one for all. And so left wing says we all band together, we all make wealth, we all share it, and we all help the common man.
I disagree. I feel like that has more because, like, for example, now you're thinking like economics to like the power there, right? So economics and politics are two different things. And you can say that
Hold on, real quick, my partner's coming. Hey yo, what up? What up? I'm over here. I'm petitioning over around the corner, so talking to some folks. Mom? Yeah, I'm gonna go over there right now. Yeah, because we gotta go to that. Can you drop me the location to the table you're talking about? Okay. Okay. Oh, just go to Lucas, he said? Okay. She said remote sign out. Okay. All right, sounds good. All right, I'll be over there right now. All right, see ya. Yeah, so real quick, man. So, when it comes to libertarianism, right? That's like what people like to frame as like the ethical right-wing ideology, okay? And what it is, I look after my own stuff, and I don't participate in the broader thing. I don't believe in big government. I don't believe that the government should have, that I should be paying all my taxes. I think my money should go to me, and I should pay minimal amounts for just the bare necessities, and that's all I consider my responsibility to the greater universe, right? That only works if you can afford your own fire department, and it only works if you can afford your own police department, and it only works if you can afford to pave your own streets. And that's what these libertarian assholes that don't understand. It is literally that they don't understand, because they've never even. They're against socialism predatorily, and they don't understand because they've never put themselves in the shoes of others. Most people that develop this idea are either so poor that they're stupid, or they just don't understand money at all, or they don't care about anything else. And so what we really need is a very strong but very accountable government. We have to have a very well-funded government, because there's never going to be a time where we don't need a military to protect us. And there's never going to be a time where we don't need a structure in place for civil justice and, taxation for things that we need, hospitals, all these different things. So we just got to stop the debate about whether or not we need government, right? Or if an ethical government is possible. And we just got to skip to the part where we're all under the same understanding that we have to have a government. There's never going to be a time where there's not a government. Even if we abolish government, the first thing that will happen is a government will pop up and start controlling people. That's the first thing that would happen. So without government, it's just gang control, and so we just have to get to the part where we're just deciding, okay, we know there has to be an ethical government. What's it going to look like, and how are we going to build it? And so that's the part that I think we should get on. And it's a lot of work and a lot of different strategies. And just like you said, we're going to have to fight these motherfuckers, because they're not going to give it up. There's going to be bloodshed. That, like Malcolm X said, we could have a bloodless revolution, and then he got shot to death. There's no such thing as a bloodless revolution. It's already blood spilled. You know what I mean? It's just how much blood has to get spilled for us to get our freedom. That's how much we're trying to figure out right now, because it's going to be the second Civil War. Hopefully it won't be like the last Civil War, where we're actually shooting each other to death. Hopefully it'll be us versus the elites, because the last Civil War was the same thing. It was the elites that owned slaves convincing the poor, idiotic population to fight on their behalf. They didn't have any stake in the game. They were just poor idiots, and they didn't even own slaves, and they were like, oh, our state rights are being taken away. They were listening to the propaganda of the elites. So that's what's happening now. That's why they're putting the blame on immigrants. They're trying to villainize immigrants and make everybody hate them for the same reason. They're just trying to pin a poor and disenfranchised community and blame them. Yeah, exactly, and blame them for all their problems, because they don't have the defense to protect themselves. So Yeah, man. Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. What's your name?
Jason.
Nice to meet you guys. Peace out.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
So, how was that? At what point did you start into it?
Well, I'm a libertarian, so
Oh, that makes sense. Well, I mean, what part of like libertarianism? Like, so obviously there's left, right, up, down, right? When you have like authoritarianism, you have libertarianism, you have the left, which is like when you look at it from like a social economic standpoint, like the right, and then you have like the Tesseract thing, where it's like, are you approaching LGBTQI or are you against?
well, I'm anti-government all the way, you know. Because I'll give Ron Paul supporter. I don't know if you remember him at all, but in 2012 he ran for president. Ron Paul, but I mean, he's anti, you know, all the, you know, taxes and welfare, all that shit. But his whole thing was, you know, social programs. You know, people, you know, they want that, and that's the role of the church, you know. And they give their money to the church, and that way people just go to the churches to get welfare. You know?
I think like one of the biggest problems that we have, really like in our society, is kind of we just have to fear, right? I stopped and I was just listening, and like there's a lot of things that, you know, I guess like were being said in the debate and that I kind of agree with, right? Like for example, there is green flags and they do use witchcraft for the masses, right? The niggas that like either we're too like, you know, to see that it's witchcraft, or we're just too blindsided and like, oh, we don't know that to us, right? So we have to try to convince these people that the people that are trying to beg for the solutions are using things outside of the knowledge to control them same way. You know? So it's like that's what like the Bible is. It's like how do you get things like break up in your life or like this is people like
There's, you know, have you ever heard of a targeted individual? Targeted individual?
I have
That's what I am. You know, like I'm a, you know, I was just Ron Paul guy, and then I became ordained in 2011. Because, well, I was in the States, I was in Minnesota, and I was going to, you know, I kind of helped take over the Republican Party in our county, you know, for him, you know, to try to get him against Obama back then. And of course, he was corrupted. You know, he's like the only person that any case at all in any government person is him, because he's having the 9/11 and the Federal Reserve, you know, and it's just a real shit, you know. And then, you know, like the media, they just kind of probably creepy with it.
what makes you believe that you were totally individual?
Well, see, around that time, well, I found a loophole in the law because I have Native American in Minnesota, like the Native American church. They found they gained the ability to possess peyote, right? Peyote and mushrooms, you know, like demonic reasons, you know. And so I became ordained to try to expand upon that and be like a church. And that it was like just as a political action thing, you know. Try to legalize all drugs for a church. Like when you join church, as long as you abide by like, you know, the guidelines, all drugs should be legal, you know. And then started on that time, I was like an atheist, you know. But like in this whole world, when Easter started revealing itself to me, you know. And you know, it's like a by the book process, you know, but started noticing shit, you know, and then it's like overt, you know, and people say born again shit, you know, we're all from God, we deal with himself, but well, they tried doing that with me, shit. But I was being led, but you take like all this shit was happening, but by this time I had like a thing that monitored the Nielsen ratings, like TV, you know, like they put like a thing that if you're watching a TV program, you know what you're watching, and then you count for so many families, so then the networks know what charge ads. Well, I had that, but then around that time, and then the other shit going on, TV started talking directly. It's a movie called like The Game, where it's a costume, you know. But good shit, you know, at first, you know, but then logically, because I'm all about logic, you know, and you guys think, oh yeah, you know, and you know the digital switch over that happened, the digital TV over there and shit, and but it was weird, cause like, yeah, cause I was watching the Jimmy Kimmel Live and shit, and of course I was taking stimulants, you know, and but it was, they were talking directly on
It was up for that same, like, I guess, feeling like this is starting to be the right place. And it freaked me out. So I rewatched the movie, I guess, sober. And that's when I realized, and I think it might be like beautiful, you just become hyper aware of all the things that are trying to get into your subconscious. The moment you become aware, now all of a sudden it's like, oh my god, this is like magic. It's like actually coming, right? So in a sense, it's like your consciousness becomes aware that your subconsciousness is getting.
Well, it actually kept going until like I could go to like friends' houses because I was freaking out, you know, at the time. But like friends' house, and then like I'll go to their house and like show them and we'll be sitting around. You'll be talking directly to us, like, and like they're freaking out. But I don't know what they want me to do. And one in Tommy here, Los Angeles, tried to get on Jimmy Kimmel, and tried to get crowdfunding for an AI God church. It's a religion, you know, which is essentially what the elites are doing. You know, they're trying to build this God machine, which is AI God. You know, if you're ever looking at transhumanism and technocratic, you know, like Ray Kurzweil and all that, you know, that's what they're, you know, that's what they're doing. And so around this time I was also looking into like mass shootings, you know, and this guy, well, when I was looking at targeted individuals, this guy he posted my name on there. And we're seeing that, and like a week later, I seen the mass shooting, you know, died in Florida. Got shot by like 25 times. It hit me. And like over the next year, I found out that like he's targeted individual, and he did it intentionally, tried to get raise awareness about what's going on with that. Once they target you, it's not like this counterintelligence, like your FBI starts following you, tapping your phone, and overtly, like, so you become aware of it, of that they're following you around and shit. And you kind of back off it. But back in the 70s, they'll do this to like activists and shit. It takes off the warfare, you know, where they want to, like, Stasi developed what we call it resistance zone, where instead of like just arresting people, activists and shit, they would, you know, weird shit, like gang shocking, where they're the, and like groups of people, you know, stop you basically, and do it in a way where it talk at you, not to you, but at you, say shit that's relevant, like, you know, something that happened earlier, where to let you know that they're aware of what happened, you know. It's kind of like what phones do, you know, when you're thinking something, and, yeah. And it's all linked, you know, because ultimately what it is, it's a God machine, you know. So they can target you, and it's like a bubble around you, and they can influence everything around you, and they can like force people, like compel. It's like being compelled, you know, to just randomly say shit, or they, you know, it's so deep. It's all with the remote control of people, and the hypnotic. It's like sleepwalking, which is what it is too.
like hijack
and like make them so they're not even aware of it. I mean, continue. They're more prone, and they've been working on this for a long time. But like the synthetic substance part of it has been employed in Hollywood, since 100 years now. And they've been able to put voices in people's heads for 100 years. And like back in the day, like some of these like May West or whatever, see the channel outright script ideas. Once you go in, you ask the voices or whatever, give you a script idea and write down what they're saying and the movies for it. And there's always some like like lust women type thing, But that was going on back then, like the 30s and 40s, But even But with this, one aspect of it is like how to build it up. I know it's like imagine like the MRI machine, the scanning your brain, or and you get like a dictionary, like a list of words, and you read the word, and then you take a snapshot of which brain waves you're in when you read that word. They catalog it. You go for every word, take a snapshot, So you got, based off of remote neural monitoring too. And they can do that at distance because we got the body like this, the aura, and they can read that. So it's like a reverse radio or TV, where we're broadcasting it and they can pick it up at a distance and maybe go on the process so they, and do that catalog brainwave pattern. People in LA, is like all the homeless people are that's why they hate football. That's a whole other aspect. But you don't have to be honest. You do it do it more. It's called psychosis, but it opens it up more. But the thing is, like the brainwave, or the brainwave patterns that happen. Like if I'm thinking of a cat and I don't like cats, and if you like cats, well, it's going to fire up different spots in the brain, differently. But if you get enough variation in people, based off of all the different variations of like the memory, you might like in a different spot, and all experience. But eventually, once you get enough mapped out brains of every word, then you can average it out and find out exactly the pinpoint spot. It's called electric stimulation of the brain. It's all done with like a major, like the beamforming of like 5G and shit. Just think of it. You say if you get 100 gig a second, where it's beam, that's like the thing, but like 100 gig download what's the second, that's how fast the 5G is. And so like, space friends, where they can just, triangulate thing. Now it's all down to DNA. You guys DNA, you can triangulate that thing. It's like a different radio station, it's all, we used it in the first Iraq war. We call it the voice of God weapon. But it's all like scientific. Now it's becoming commercialized. 6G is going to be no need for a phone. It's all done in the cloud, Bring the cloud in the face. It's all brain computer interface or brain cloud, and then all like the AIs and they run. They put like neural links, all that shit. That's how you don't need to do that because they can screen in the sky. Like you see it all day today, nanobots, smart drugs, and it's all in us. And all that neural net shit, you don't need it because you're all wired for it already. So they want to select you. Then there's this other thing called the sentient world simulation. And it's like basically like a Google Earth. I think it is Google Earth. So you can take a digital copy of the real world, and then if you'd like the proper administration account on Google Earth, you could have more of an overlay of consensus of weather and traffic. You could have access to like the whole range of what they can do. Basically, in real time, there's a digital avatar with no in it. And so you can see where everyone is in real time, and then I don't know if you ever play The Sims, but like in Sims, you kind of overlord and over people, and then you tap on them, and then you mess with them, or whatever. But, yeah, it's the same type of thing. So they can go on Google Earth and then select. So they can go on it right now, and then see that we're right here, and then you tap on one of us, and then see all their eyes, and then see where they're in real time. It's like an interactive live stream. It's that porn that we have this live streaming chat or something. It's like that kind of thing, but it's like a covert surveillance system too, but to elite entertainment thing as well, because it's a system that you can access, and but once you start, once you target with it, it becomes like a human show, and targeting people are like, who are targeted, who are like, activated, the system that's being made aware of it, I mean, unfortunately, we got the psychic driving, so we makes it over and over, that's kind of more than a stock, where they feel, more not going to react, but things that happen in the world, and also the whole idea is to be able to do that cause and effect, not really see somebody and look at how the influence in the world because totally watching through a free path and it's a brand of free will, but then it's just this quiet weapons and silent wars where like this back in the 50s we're talking about where it's like a data processing thing where they can map out, they put it into the sentient world simulation, all like the the cause and effect of things that happen in real time, and then for the sake of trying to predict the future or to try to reach, what they use it for is like to have like an end goal that they want, everyone to do a certain thing, and then they can go back, they can engineer back to see what would have to happen in order to get the world into that, and there's just so many aspects of this, but like the sentient world simulation, it's like, so it's like digital copy, and then they can access their avatar in digital, but because, the wireless connection is connected to too, so they can fuck with the avatar in the thing, but then because we link to our avatar in real time, with all towers and satellites and shit, then it affects us too. So, right now. They've mapped out every experience you can ever have. Just from like say somebody having a heart attack, and then taking a snapshot of the brainwaves when they're having that, or anything like hearing something from this way, and it fires out in the brain. That's all it is. The electric stimulation of the brain, so they can induce any experience. So much so that they all over they map out brains for the hallucinating drugs, and their algorithms can create basically AR overlays without need for laptops. So it's all done through our brain hallucinating the thing. They can make like a screen pop up right here, and And just like you think I'm glass, then you, and it's all this shit. Like I've gathered all like videos of me talking about this already, that it's possible. So I've kind of formed all this shit. I started doing this back in 2013. Doing this AI God.
So you knew AI was coming before you too?
Well, it's like back then, 2013 is when I came out here the first time, and that's what they wanted me to do. And it's like military intelligence. They have the system, and initially they call it perception management. So they want to trouble controlling perception and then gaslighting and try to get you to question everything. Like they were putting in on it, and they were it's like a human show thing, where like they want you to take everyone in on it, but they feel like you're the last thing you know, And it's a tactic. And go on Facebook, targeting people. People would go on there and talk about the experience, and you find out that it's by the book. It's like there's a process, and in the whole thing where everyone's in on it, it's real. But
So what do you say the process is? Like, I'm really curious on that.
well, what happens is like when they bring you into it, or like when you start experiencing it, what they'll do is like you'll start hearing voices, hearing not even in your head, but it's like in your environment, because they can bounce off of anything, even like the noise off of like the electric motor off the switch, or your voice, so it's just things that it's not. You've never been there, you're covering it up, but the process that happens to a lot of people is they'll start being in like their house or something in their apartment and start hearing people talking, on the other side of the wall. You'll be talking about it, that you're hearing, like you're listening, and all of a sudden, gradually you'll come into they are talking about it. And then they'll make you think they got hidden cameras, or getting like smoke detectors and shit. But like gradually they'll make it more and more evident that you until you like panic, what the hell is going on? When you're hearing it from the other side of the wall, anyway, this just happened like in December to a guy up in Hollywood.
Where that like testing to see how far they can push it?
Well, they bring you into it as you once you start talking directly, because like before that, like they can do it in your own internal voice, and they can tell you, and like what they really prefer to do is influence people without them realizing it, and try to get them, like, let's say you hate that, let's say you hate cats, and then you like devout hating cats, well, they'll sit and constantly manipulate and trying to influence you with your energy, But they can make you not only think something, but project how you feel about how you think about that. And that's real. Yeah. And they can inject out, they want to inject it and they want to manipulate people, and then make it